G'day guys, welcome back to the channel, and hopefully our last part of the Kriesler 11-102 stereo. Now we know what's got to go. This bit. This is the changer, the turntable out of it. Well, really it's a changer, isn't it? Because we can stack quite a few records on these. I think it's about 6 records from memory. So this is what we're going to do. It's a diamond. It's I'll just give you a bit better look. She's not in really crash hot order, but a bit of a clean up, and I'm pretty sure everything will go okay with this. Underneath, a typical turntable of the era, where we've just got lots and lots of dry grease all the way here, in around here. Yeah, lots of dried grease. So it's a matter of going through, working out what's what. Now I'm going to remove the motor, and we'll be re-lubing the bearings to make sure he's okay. So come along with me, we'll see what we can do with it, and hopefully it'll work like new again, especially when we put it back in the Kriesler. Let's get into it. Right, now I think firstly we'll lift the platter up. It's a little bit grubby, but I think I'll get the platter off first, and then we might do a little bit of cleaning on this, just brush it off later, and yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, circlip in here, in the centre. There we go. But the circlip didn't want to come off. Now, our centre peg does not want to move, but on these it might be, yeah, there might be a little, it's actually held by a little spring underneath, so not yet. Gently move him around, lift him up. Now, I'm not trying this before we do this. I don't need any broken teeth off gears or anything that could be seized underneath this. There we go. Yeah, sticky grease. Now, I do have the old mat for this, by the way, so it won't look quite as bad as what it is. Now, yes, of course, our little fella here is almost seized on our wheel. The wheel extremely, that's the main loading gear and unloading, and that's very, very tight to turn. So we'll be removing him, lubing this fella up. Now, our little idler wheel, doesn't feel too bad. Yeah, actually everything in this is sticky and seized up. Let's get the idler off. We'll start getting a few things off and out of the road, and then we'll do a little bit of cleaning up. Okay. Fibre washer on top of the idler. And of course we'll be cleaning this fella up and oiling the bearing for a little while, for 24 hours, to let it soak into the bearing. The rubber doesn't look too bad. It's good that it hasn't been resting on the side of the motor and put a dent in the rubber, so that's a good thing. Rubber, yeah, it seems to be coming off it a bit, but still doesn't look too bad. and a fibre washer underneath him. I'm not just telling you about where those little fibre washers go. It's if I get lost putting this together and I've got to look back, I've got my video to tell me. Okay, let's get the main cam gear off. And yeah, this fella is really, really sticky. And as you can see, lots and lots of grease. And yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just sticky and hard. And this little fella here, well, that's your trip that that the arm touched. There's a lever that goes across to the arm, pushes this little fella in and pushes him into gear. Right, so a little bit of cleaning up in there. Now here we have a little thrust bearing. Of course, he's a mess as well. And yes, just grease, but very hard, dried grease. And another washer underneath him. Now, I think it's time for some rag. Okay, now that we've got that off, I might take this arm off once again. Very sticky. Don't actually know what. He's not too bad. Everything is moving okay there, and the needle appears to be okay on the cartridge. Righto. Now what I want to do at the moment, we'll find a place to sit him. I don't have a jig to sit this one just at the moment. I want to disconnect the motor. So he goes into a switch here, which is a little push-pull lever switch, and even he's sticky. So I want to take these out because I want to remove the motor. So I think with the motor, I think I'll take the, might have to take the whole switch assembly out. Okay. Now on the switch, we also want to take the switch out and clean the contacts. This, it is only a repair, this job. It's a customer's job, but it has to be right. Okay, so there's your switch, your motor, and he just pushes two little leaf contacts together to initialize the motor. We might just leave the switch like that for the moment, and I'll get the motor out. That way it'll make the whole thing a little bit lighter and easier to work on. Now these little fellas, the motor does sit on little rubber mountings. There's washers there as well. And they're rubber grommets, which feel nice. They're quite okay, which is good. Lift him up and out. And there's our motor. Certainly needs cleaning up on the spindle. Does turn not too bad. Not quite as nice as what I'd like it. Very shortly we'll take him apart, clean the bearings, and then oil them up. There is some felt in around these bearings that you put oil in under here and in the top. and that way that holds the oil in there for quite some time. So yeah, all looks good with him, and we'll work on him soon. Now very shortly I'll get myself a little bag and or a little bottle and put all my bits and pieces in. This is starting to be a little bit of a collection here. Okay, so this arm I would like to remove now, which is this fella here. That fella down the bottom there. I'd like to take him out because he has to be lubed up as well. There's a spring, a washer, a little spacer, and now that arm will come out. And we can clean things up. It needs a little bit of tidying up. So yeah, it's better that we remove it. Now we're getting there. Now I'd like to remove the spindle. Underneath there's a little spring here that holds him in. We push him sideways, just like that, and pull the centre. And there he is. And even the little lever inside the spindle is hard to push with grease. So this whole thing needs quite a lot of degreasing. Degreasing. Okay. Now for ease of use at the moment, we've got the wires go here on this. We've got a little terminal block here. What I'm going to do, unsolder these so I haven't got them in the road. It's a lot easier to work on, a lot easier to do, because we've got to do quite a few things with this little fella. Okay, get my soldering on, and we'll take these fellas out. Now, we're looking at the right-hand channel there. I'll just remove the ground cable for the moment. Okay. And we'll remove that fella. Now, the red is obviously right, and he goes to the red wire from the cartridge. So that's easy enough. We don't have to write that fella down. There we go. Now, I think, first of all, I think I will get a paintbrush with some cleaner and start cleaning up some of the grease and rubbish on here. There's lots of hair around that one as well. Now I might get some white spirits or something along those lines and start brushing this off. So yeah, we've got a little bit to do there. We'll do a little bit of cleaning up on top, and we'll be back shortly after I just give him a little bit of a clean. He's quite oily and greasy to work on. I'm going to clean up with a bit of methylated spirits. And clean this fella. Put a smear around the inside of him there. I will also be putting some on the deck when we put it back together. Okay. Now, it's only a matter of unscrewing off the base, unscrewing the motor, and the whole assembly comes out. These are, just grab another screwdriver. These motors are quite easy to do. Okay. And the back just comes straight off. Our little bearing is in there. We're going to take him out and clean him up and re-lubricate him. And we now take this forward, and that's it. Now this is the back of the motor. So it went in like so. I always put a little, I'll just grab texture. Okay, and I put a couple of dots or an F for front on him, so I don't get him mixed up. He goes back the way he should. A little bit of cleaning up around here. Too bad. And guys, you want to put the time and effort into the motor. That's the heart of the turntable. So, yeah, just spend a little bit of time on him. And we'll put some oil in there. Few drops. Now that's about 8 drops. And put him on there, spin him up, and he goes nicely. Now we'll let him sit. I'll let him sit overnight like that, so the oil sinks into the felt that's inside there. Now, this one, we want to get this fellow off because I want to clean the actual motor shafts, both the rear and the front. So the way to get these fellas off, a little bit of heat, soldering iron. That's all we need. Right, we'll put this little motor back together. Now, I've soaked these bearings for about 24 hours in oil, and they're both looking pretty good. Pretty good. So before we put him on, put a little dab of oil on the shafts so that we can, get them on. Now, what I've got to take off is just this ring, which is the 78 spindle. So we've got 16, 33, 45, and a 78 collar on there. I'll remove that. It is removable, I think, by hand. There we go. And we have to have him off to put him through the front bearing. So I'll get some oil and we'll put him on there, and this should come up well. It's a nice little motor. Doesn't seem to have had a huge amount of work. Don't want too much oil on here, just a smidgen. Mind you, my oil is nearly expired on this one. Now, if you remember, I marked the front. So it goes on like that. And we'll put a smidgen of oil just on the back of him. There we go. Put the back plate on. Now the next fella we get on, I've just got to work out what is what here as to how he come apart. And he was like so. Now that he's in, we've put the screws in. Just give you a shaft, very, very light tap to centralise the bearings. And look at that. That's good. We'll put our 78 collar back on. He's a press fit, but fairly tight. And there's nothing to stop the motor coming forward and hitting on the front, but the motor, really, if your turntable's normal, it's motor sits upside down like so, and no problem. Okay, so now I want to test him out, so we'll put 240 on here, 240 volts in Australia, and that's our switch, so we'll test him out as well and make sure everything is working with this little fella. And if you're working on these and you're using a desk cord like I am at the moment, please be careful. This voltage can kill you, so you just be very careful. Probably don't do as I do, but we do have protection here. We do have an RCD clip system, so if there's any leakage to ground, it will stop. Okay, let's plug him in. He's plugged in, and let's see. And he's working nicely. Now, I don't know whether you can see him. Just get a bit better view there. He's certainly working nicely there. That's the motor done. Let's get on with the rest of the unit. Right, now, here's our turntable. A little bit cleaner than what he was. And let's have a look underneath. Okay, now I didn't record all the cleaning because it was outside, a white spirits job in a little tray. So yeah, we've just cleaned up all the old grease, everything off it. So now I'm going to go around and we're going to re-grease all the parts that move and so forth. So we'll get into that right now, and we'll probably start up here with the idler wheel and re-grease this little shaft and the cams where it runs. Let's do that. Well, guys, that's him pretty well greased up. And actually, I stopped and started the video a little bit while I was doing some of this with my little foot pedal that I made in the a couple of videos ago. Okay, and what I wanted for the pause control was a foot switch, and you can't buy them. Not something simple that does the job. And over here, there's my little box. I'm using it at the moment. It is absolutely unreal. So check out my video on that if you want to make one. Really easy. Took about an hour to make it, and saved one video. You would save an hour of mucking around. Anyway, back onto this. We'll grease our cam spindle. We'll put our thrust bearing back in and re-grease him, and our little idler wheel. All that's working okay. Needs a little bit of grease on that spindle there. And he moves, and a little bit of grease just on the inside of this fella. He has got a little bit, but yeah. Okay. And we're going to put the motor in. Better put that in. Okay, one little mistake, guys. Don't put the cam gear on before we put our thrust bearing in. Not a good idea, because you can't get it in. So, have to slip him off again. Put a washer on, and then we put our thrust bearing in. Before we do, we'll re-grease him. Smear some grease in there. And, okay, that's what he looks like. Pretty well greased up. Put him on. Next goes another washer for our thrust, and then a rubber. We'll just redo that one. Put our rubber cushion on first, the bottom of our thrust bearing, then our rollers, then the top of our thrust bearing. All looks good. And now we can turn around and put this fella on. There we go. Make sure that little spigot underneath is fitting into the cam gear properly underneath. If it doesn't, well, you can't get your circ clip on anyway. So there we go. That's done there so far. Now it's time to turn the unit over and see what else is going to be done there. Let's get this fella in. this side, we've got to keep the wires out of the road here because that's our switch, and we don't want the wire near our switch. So that this doesn't give any more problems or gets tangled or interferes with something, I'm going to put a small cable tie just around there. Okay, let's put our cable back on. Round. That's done. Turn him over and we'll get the platter on. Now, put a little bit of grease inside him. And certainly some grease on our gear. And this little gear drives the main cam gear, which is for our auto mechanism. Okay. Okay, we'll now push the centre spindle in. When he pushes down, a little clip catches on the bottom of him there, on that little indent there. So we've got a little bump there, a little spigot. He goes over here. So he goes in and locks in. There we're done. Circlip. Here we go. Yeah, a little bit of grease there. The last time you saw the platter, the last time you saw him, the mat was off. Glue had gone dry and the mat had lifted off. So a little bit of quick grip, spray glue around, and we've stuck the mat back down a little bit earlier on. Okay, now what we've got to do is sit him up on something. I haven't got my jig here at the moment, so we'll sit him up and we'll put some power on him and test the speed and test the mechanism to make sure everything is going nicely. Now, we had a little bit of an issue with our idler. Now, this little fella goes up and down. He was sticking a bit, and we've managed to get him right. I had to do this off camera. This little fella here, well, there's one of those oh God clips. So as soon as you take them off, they fly to the other end of the workshop, and the most common response is, oh God, where did that go? So the washer, the spring, that little plastic piece went flying at 100 mile an hour up to the other end of the workshop. I've only just found them. This has taken, mind you, half a day. So that little spring there, all it was is a little spring that goes in and tensions the idler, so he pushes him forward all the time. Now, you sort of can't see it there. I'll show you on the other side. But that wasn't, it had come off there and it was sitting over here. So there was no tension on the idler arm to push it towards the motor, which then engages it to the rim of the platter itself. That took a little bit of doing. We put him in, and this little fellow, you've got to tighten him, turn him and tighten him, and he goes into a little collet on top of the actual little riser there itself. So you tension him up, you hold him down, you stop this centre pin from dropping out underneath,
while you put this clip back on. Yeah, that was a fair bit of doing. I don't know how many turns of tension that spring needs, but what I've got now is pretty good, actually. We'll just put him into gear and I'll show you. So that spring pushes our idler back, and he's attached inside there. Now, the other thing you've got to do when we're setting this up, was get your idler tyre in the centre of each speed range on your motor shaft. So that's 16. Now, can't really do this. Yeah, well, that's 33. Then a little bit hard without the platter on there. That's 45. So forth. Now, we've got that very close. And this pushes up and down nice and wants to spring back into position. So, yeah, a little bit of mucking around there. Now, the other thing that I made a mistake on was this little fella here. This is your main cam gear. Now, the arm is attached to a lever which pushes this little pawl over and engages your gear on the platter itself, which turns the gear and returns the arm. That shouldn't be greased. This here has to be very, very free and not greased. Here's a close-up of him. Definitely not greased. Just dry, because that has to move very freely, and even grease on a cold morning, cold day, it will jam the enough for that little lever connected to the arm at the end of the record not to push him all the way over, and hence won't return the arm. So, yeah, I made a little mistake there. So we're going to get to work, clean him up, put the platter back on, hopefully for the last time, and then we'll test him out. Okay, guys, we'll put the platter on and do a manual run and see if he does all the correct things. Hopefully it does. Here we go. Now, and it's good, the idler's catching there. Okay, picks him up at the end, comes over and rests the arm and puts him down and turns off. Okay, let's put power on him now and check him out. Now, what I want to check out is our speed. Now, I can't, I do that with my iPhone. I can't, with my smartphone, I can't do it with the peg in the centre. So we'll take that peg out for the moment. Which is that little spring there, and he just pops out. Okay, let's get him set up for power. Right, we'll connect up our death cord. And we'll secure him just at the moment so that he doesn't move. Please don't do this at home, kids. It's dangerous. Okay, we'll just cover up the end of him. They're both covered. And we'll see, is this going to work? He's plugged in. Right, Let's test out some speed. That should do him to sit on. And I might give you guys a little bit better look at this. Okie doke, that might be a bit better. Let's see what we can do here. And we're looking at 33, 33, 34. Close enough, I suppose, for an old idler. We'll see what he measures. There you go, 33.82. That's not bad. There's the result. Okay, let's try 45, shall we? Okay, here we go. And we're looking pretty close to 45. It's looking good. Looking very good. There you go, 44.81. That's close enough to 45 for me. A little bit of wow and flutter there, obviously. It does give your wow is 0.9, so yeah, almost 1%. But I mean, it's an old idler, and yeah, it's probably around about what it would be for something this age. Let's try 16. Not that there's many 16 RPM records around. I do have one in the workshop, but there's certainly not many of them. Okay. That's not bad. Close to 16 for me. There you go, 16.85. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Wow, well, yeah, minus 3.18 and plus 1.95. So, yeah, between 16.32, 17.18. So the whole wow is, yeah, not real crash hot, but like it's not a bad little turntable. And let's try a record. There we go. Locked in. Okay, give you a bit better look again. Now, this is going to be interesting. Does it work? And put him on, drops him down. But he is, I can hear the actual needle playing there, so we won't do that. And so there's me stand. I did this in a hurry because it's freezing cold in my workshop. 2 pieces of board either side. Yeah. Come up with something better than this, Baz. This is not real good. Okay, pretty sure of the turntable. Everything works. We'll check out our audio from our stylus and cartridge once we get him in the machine. So that's a wrap for the bench restore for this fella. A little bit more cleaning up and fine tuning, and let's get this thing back in the cabinet where it might be a bit safer than 2 pieces of board. Okay, I do have another turntable mount, but unfortunately there's another turntable in the process which is using it. Yeah, shouldn't do shortcuts, should I? Okay, let's get this fella in the machine and get some sound out of it. Now, on closer inspection, our cartridge. The needle is okay. He's fine. He's one of those fellas. But our cartridge, the end has actually fallen off the little piezo pickup. So I'll give you a look at that. V piece that holds the stylus at the front there. Now, I don't know the technical name for that. Some of you guys will. But yeah, the piezo rods go into the cartridge itself from there. So I'm not real sure, but that cartridge is no good. So we've got to find another cartridge. But anyway, we can do this once it's in the unit. I don't have to do it now. So we'll get the turntable in first. It's a lot easier to work on that way. Right, well, we've got the turntable in, all mounted in nicely. Now I've got it turned on. She's wired in. Now I found another cartridge. It's a Sonotone. It's a 2536 or something like that. It's a ceramic cartridge. Doesn't quite have the output that the 21T Sonotone had that's in there. This one's 300 millivolts, which is about all you can get now in ceramic. Now, the other ceramic, the Sonotone one, it outputs 700 millivolts. So it drove this unit a little bit harder, slightly, you'd really have to struggle to hear this sound difference, I guess, but it's just lower output, so a little bit more oomph needed on the volume control. But anyway, the new one is in, so we're going to test out. Does this or does this not work? And what have we got? We got, where are we? If I can get rid of the light, we've got Bobby Dazzler. There you go, can't see for the light. Bobby Dazzler, and yeah, let's see, won't be able to play too much of this, of course. Now, may as well try the auto. Okay. Eject, on. Looking good so far. She's on the record, which is a good thing. And, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, and we better not play too much of that one. But yeah, sounds really, really good. Sounds great in the background. Yeah, we won't, certainly won't push that one. So there we go. She's working. Now, let's reject. Does it go back and stay there? Look at that. Beautiful. Lovely. Well, guys, I'll now put the lid on. We'll put some accessories on the lid. The only other little thing that I haven't catered for is the microphone that comes with this. We've just got to make sure that he all works and everything's honky-dory with him. But that's the last thing. Let's get the lids on this. Right. Now, you'll probably hear a lot of rain happening in the background. I'll have to talk loud on this one. Yeah, it's pouring rain here at the moment. So, and I've got the stereo going there behind me, playing a record. Great to hear. Now, this is the microphone. These were a standard issue on the Kriesler MultiSonic grams. Quite a few series of them, the 101, 102s, 103s, and a couple of others there that I can't think of. So I thought, well, we better see if this is going to work and clean him up a bit. I'd like to keep the original plug, so it'll be clean up the contacts here and get some rubbish off it. And then we'll put him in the gram and test him out and see if he works. The old shielded cable has probably seen better days, but the thing is, this is original. Now, there's a little rubber strain relief there at the end that's, not real good. He wanted to come off a bit. I'll clean all this up and, we might even put something else just there, but I'd like to keep it as original as possible. So let's have a go at it. Now, first up, we'll try and do something with this rubber at the end of him. He has melted, and we'll have a look inside this little fella. Ooh. Okay. May need another little bit of foam there. Yeah. So there he is, guys. Yeah, a little bit of cleaning up needed, I think. I'm just wondering what comes out. Does the whole thing lift? Yes, it does. I think it all lifts out. First thing we'll check is the mic insert to see if he works. He looks okay. He does look okay. Now, we've got a ground wire that goes to the shielding of the microphone that just pushes in the side there. And I'm pretty sure that little disc will pop out by himself. Even though he doesn't want to. Anyway, that's the least of our worries at the moment. So we've got a little bit of cleaning up there. Just move the light over here so you can see it. Real good. Should have my gloves on. And yeah. So we'll clean it all up. No worries putting another piece of foam. And yeah, we'll check the insert, our little capsule there, and just make sure that he's all working okay. Hopefully. Okay, let's get this cleaned up. Okay, let's get rid of some of this rubbish. And we'll try and do something with our cord here. Now, with this piece, this is front, there's a slight dent. You can just see it there, just in the front. I'd like to push that back out and get that nice and level. So now we've got to get this piece out. I'm not real sure how this is put in. I think it's a spot of glue there, but anyway, we'll try and get this false grill off and yeah, try and get that fella out. That way, it'll look pretty good. And by the way, that's about as good as I could get the inside of this. It's some sort of corrosion that's gone into the plastic a little bit. So, but the back of him cleaned up okay. The front will clean up just as nice. So yeah, we'll get this out. There we go. And yeah, I'm glad I got that out as well. She's certainly a mess inside this thing. Now that was, I think, a little bit of foam in there, but I don't think we'll be putting the foam back in. I can see the dent, which is in there. Get him on the right angle there. This may help you guys if you get one of these and have to do the same thing. Now, that little dent just there. In actual fact, that will lift. That grill will lift off, and try and get him straight that way. Some little tabs in here, and push him gently. There he is. Okay, now we can get him a little bit cleaned up on the whole thing and straighten out our little fella just there. Now all I've got here is the end of a screwdriver, which is a rounded end, and gently tap him against my bench. And that's coming out pretty well. Just a little more here. That's looking good. Let's polish him up. I'd say we're fairly successful with that fella. He's looking good. Okay, next bit. There we go. Looks pretty good, doesn't he? Let's put him back together. I dare say you wouldn't want to bend these too many times either, these little tabs. Only plan on doing this once. Now, before we put our little mask in, our little, where is he? This fella, I want to just leave him until we've got everything else done, because we've got to put our earth wire down the side that obviously grounds the shield, and yeah, must, well, I don't think this chrome coloured plastic is conductive. It may be slightly, but yeah, obviously a grounded shield in front of the mic. So we'll just clean up around the edges of him first, and then clean up the rest and get it together. Is this fella. He's got a little can we slide this back? He's got a little clip on the end of him. There's a washer here that has separated. Can we get this back along? Yes, we can. And we can get rid of the sticky rubbish off this. And we might just cut a little bit off the back of this. Get some of the sticky rubbish off here. A little bit of a yucky situation, but yeah, I think it'll clean up okay. Stickiness, WD-40 or 226 was what we're using. And we'll put a little bit there. And try and get the stickiness out of him. It's coming off there. And I guess there'll be a few guys out there saying, Baz, why aren't you wearing gloves doing this? Yeah, there's this 226 likes eating my gloves, so I don't wear them for this. Okay, we'll just do a little bit of cleaning up on this. And now we'll just trim a little bit off the back that's giving us a little bit of grief on the back. Okay, that's about the best we can do there. A little bit more just to get rid of the sticky that's on there. He's not too bad there. Now, guys, I wasn't real sure about the impedance of the insert. I thought, well, I don't think it'll be 3 ohms, 3 or 4 ohms. That's a speaker. This is a mic. So I, not having any information on the mic, I've unsoldered the transformer of it because I thought, okay, well, the tranny's still on there. And now we have 31 ohms. That, to me, it registers pretty right. It makes a lot more sense than our 3 ohms that we had. So we'll hook him back up and get him back in there. Okay, let's get this in. Now the shield was over this side, so we'll put him down beside this little disc, like so, and push him in. There we go. And the insert. Right, now I'm going to heat these wires just a little bit to make them pliable. I don't want them rigid like they are. Okay, that might make it a little bit easier. Very easy. Nice and pliable. Now, I'm going to put another piece of wire in on the ground wire there. He wasn't quite long enough to do what I wanted to do with it. It wasn't quite long enough to go back to the ground wire with the strain relief in place. So I'm just going to join a piece in the middle here. And putting the finishing touches. That looks a fair bit better than what he was when I took him out of that stereo. Right, just cleaning him up a little bit. And why don't we replace the plug? Well, that's the original plug. It's very easy to throw in the bin and put another plug on, but not the way we do vintage radios. Now, we'll test him out. And let's try him out. I'll turn him up. 1, 2, and yes, we're working. 1, 2, 1, 2. Microphone sounds very nice. Yes. Chord. A little bit tangled and old, but yeah, I don't think this will get a lot of use, but it's all original. That's the thing. Okay, guys, I'll get my other microphone now. You might be able to hear me a little bit better with this one. There she is. Radio. And what a beautiful sounding piece of gear this is. Righto, that's a wrap for this video. There she is, an 11-102 Kriesler Stereo MultiSonic. The next model up from this, the 103, which we'll be doing down the track as well. We've got a couple of those to do. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed all the little bits and pieces we've done with this. As I said, it's not a full restore. It's a customer of mine that just wanted everything working. So I hope you've enjoyed the ride that I've had. And yeah, we'll look forward to the next video. Okay, please remember to like and subscribe if you'd like to follow me, and click the bell so that you'll be notified when my next video comes up. Okay, until next time, and a little bit of vintage next time, it's bye for now.